Hi friends, my name is Brianna and welcome back to Brianna's Bookshelf. So today we are going to be talking about my TBR for May. I honestly don't normally make TBR videos, but I really did feel called to this month. In May, I'll be participating in Escape the Readathon, which is a team-based competitive readathon hosted by Lexi from Books with Lexi. And this will actually be my first year joining, and I'm super excited. I feel like this is such a popular readathon, and it just seems like so much fun. And I've decided to join the scientist team. Our team is hosted by Sarah from Wicked Reading, Deja from Deja's Book World, and Heather from Books and Heather. And I'm super excited to be on Team Scientist. I feel like we're gonna do really well. To be honest, I feel like the rules to this readathon are a little overwhelming if you haven't done it before. We're basically like moving through a spaceship this year, and we're trying to escape the spaceship through the escape pods. And we're going to be presented throughout the month with different options of prompts we have to fulfill. So this TBR is a little bit more of like a wish list of books, I guess, than a strict TBR, because I already know I will not be reading all of these. First of all, this is just going to be way more books than I can normally read in a month. Also, we will not be choosing every single prompt as far as I understand. So I won't be needing to read all of these, but I just don't know what's going to come up. So I wanted to pick options for all of them so I was prepared. Also, May is going to be an extremely busy month for me. It's going to be my partner's birthday, and we also have 2 different weddings to attend. One of them we are traveling out of state for. So it's going to be a busy, busy month. So I'm not sure how much I can keep up with my reading, but I'm going to try my best. So I'm going to go through all of the prompts and let you all know what I have picked out. The first prompt is the command center, and for this prompt we have to choose 3 tropes that we enjoy, and then while this prompt is active we have to stick to reading books that contain those 3 tropes. So I have chosen forced proximity, enemies to lovers, and haunted house, which I feel like is kind of a trope. So I felt like this was pretty encompassing to allow me to read a lot of different romance, fantasy romance, and horror books, so I could get a good variety of my favorite genres while we're doing this prompt if we end up having it. So I have a few different options picked out from Kindle that will fulfill these different tropes. I'm super interested in reading In the Veins of the Drowning, which I honestly don't know a lot about, but I believe that it is mermaid romantasy, which I have always been obsessed with mermaids. So I'm like absolutely dying to read this book, even though I don't know much about it and haven't really heard any reviews. But I do know that that one is forced proximity. At least that's what I found when I was looking it up. So that will fit that prompt, hopefully. Diary-bound is another one of my options. This I feel like has been so hyped up and everyone is reading this, so I feel like I need to know what all the hype is about. As far as I know, there are wolves, dire wolves maybe, that are involved with this fantasy world, and I heard that this is enemies to lovers, so I'm planning that it could fulfill that trope. And then also on Kindle Unlimited, I saw that Diavola is on there, which I haven't heard much about recently, but I know last year it was a little bit popular. And as far as I know, it is a horror that takes place on a Italian vacation, and there is some sort of haunted house aspect. That's what I've heard. So those are my 3 options for that prompt. I have a variety of things to choose from when it comes up, so I can kind of mood read it within those tropes. The next location is Winston's Lounge, and the prompt was to read a book that you've found through BookTube, and I am choosing Ghost Eaters by Clay McLeod Chapman, and I found this book through Sarah, so this is very fitting. Sarah from Wicked Reading recommended this book and talked about how this is a horror book that actually deals with addiction, which I think is super duper interesting, and this book has been on my radar ever since, so I'm excited about the possibility to hopefully get to this one this month. Then the next location is the Tech Center, and our prompt for this one was to pick a book that is blurbed from an author that you have enjoyed before. So I am choosing Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, and one of the blurbs, well actually the blurb that's like right on the front, is from Alex E. Harrow, who wrote Starling House, which I did really enjoy. So I'm going to be able to fulfill that prompt with this book. And I don't know a ton about this one, but I have read previously from Olivia Atwater and did enjoy one of her other books. And from what I know, this is a Victorian fantasy romance, and there are like naughty evil fairies involved. Not naughty in like a super spicy way, but I mean like literally the kind of fairies that are like tricksters, which I always think is a fun time and more in line with kind of like the true fairy lore. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. Then for the location Cafe Nova, our prompt is to read a book in a different genre than your last read book. So I have already decided that if we get this prompt, I'm going to read Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, because I believe that book is contemporary fiction or literary fiction, and I don't have any other books in those categories on my prompt list here, or on my TBR list. So I know that no matter what this comes after, it will always be a different genre than the book I previously read, if that makes sense. So I'm also very excited to read this. This is the only R.F. Kuang book that I have not yet read. I feel like I'm slightly intimidated by the fact that it's contemporary fiction because I usually don't read a ton of that genre, but it's R.F. Kuang, so of course I'm going to read it. And in case you didn't know what Yellowface is about, the gist of it is that we are following a white writer who is friends with an Asian writer who passes away, and then our main character steals her finished manuscript and tries to pass it off as her own. So very interesting. And for the location Med Bay, our prompt is to read a book in an isolated setting. I feel like this is my choice is a little strange here. I don't know how well this will fit, but I felt like I didn't have a ton of books in mind that were in isolated settings. But I'm thinking that I'll read Death Valley by Melissa Broder. First of all, I've just been dying to read anything by Melissa Broder. I hear so many good things about her. And from the back, or from the inside flap, the description says that our main character is going on a journey within a cactus. And I feel like being inside of a cactus definitely feels like an isolated setting to me. I mean, I really don't know if that's gonna fit well or not, to be honest, but I just really want to read this book, and I was like, hey, being inside of a cactus is isolated, right? So I'm excited. All I know besides that little tidbit is that Melissa Broder writes a lot of weird girl fiction, and I'm expecting that this will be pretty strange. Then for the Damage Control Center location, our prompt is to read a book where the author's name is below the title of the book. So I'm planning to read The Secret Service of Tea and Treason by India Holton. I have really been wanting to get to this one for spring. This series, the Dangerous Damsel series, is perfect for spring in my opinion, and this is the last book, the only one I haven't read yet. And as you can see, of course, India Holton is beneath the title, so this definitely fits. And this book is about a spy and her romantic comedy story in Victorian England. Then for the greenhouse location, our prompt is to choose a book randomly, and I didn't really want to do that quite yet. I figured if we get that prompt, then I will end up doing it then. So I picked 3 options that I have checked out on Kindle Unlimited that I'm planning to then do a spinner wheel for these if we end up getting this prompt. So my 3 options that I could randomize from are Caught Up, which is the next book for me to read in the Windy City series by Liz Tomford, and I believe it's a baseball romance. Then Unloved, which is the second book in the series, I forget what the series is called, but anyhow, it's by Peyton Corinne, and this is also sports romance. This is a hockey romance. And then my third option will be the Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. This is the first book in a romantasy series that I've been super interested in, but just have not gotten to yet. It's been like forever, so I feel like I finally need to pick that one up. Then for the engine room location, our prompt is to pick an anti-rec, so a book that someone else didn't like or does not recommend. And for this, I went through some of the different host videos. I'm actually going to pick Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney because this was in Deja's worst books of 2025 list. So that is where I got this anti-rec from. And I know like nothing about this book besides that it's a thriller. And I honestly haven't been that into reading thrillers recently, but I feel like it could be a good time to try another one. Then for the research facility location, our prompt is to read a borrowed book. And I actually don't have anything planned for this prompt yet. I'm planning to go to the library tomorrow, May 1st, at the start of the readathon, and pick out a bunch of options that I can use for when this prompt comes up. So that one is TBD. Then for the sleeping lodge, our prompt there is to read a book that a friend has recommended, and I am dying to read The Second Death of Locke. And my friend Alicia from Alicia Runs and Reads did read this pretty recently, and she, I believe, gave it 5 stars. So I'm super excited. I feel like everyone has been loving this book, and it does follow a female knight, and it was also on my spring TBR, so I would absolutely love to get to that one. Then for the facility management location, our prompt is to read a book that you feel like is underhyped, and so I am choosing Mordu by Alex Phoebe for this prompt because I don't think I've heard anyone on BookTube talk about this book, and I've been extremely interested in reading this. I did also put this on my spring TBR, so I'd love to get to it. And this is kind of a darker fantasy about a catacomb system. So I guess this would almost kind of fit for the isolated setting too, but I'm not sure how much of it actually takes place in the catacombs, but it sounds really fun and spooky. Then for the gym location, our prompt is to read the most recent release from an author. I'm choosing Eat the Ones You Love. I'm forgetting the name of the author. I will put that on screen here, but this is the most recent release from this author, and I have not read anything by her, and I know next to nothing about this book, except I'm pretty sure it is cannibalism related. And of course that was appealing to me because I usually enjoy books about cannibalism. So I think that it would be a fun time. And then our last location would be the escape pod. So that will be the location we get to if our team is able to successfully escape. And the prompt for that location is to read a book that you see in a thumbnail from one of the host videos. And I've actually chosen Ring Shout. I found Ring Shout in a thumbnail of one of Beau's videos. I can't remember what the video was, but I know that she read it recently, that it was in one of her thumbnails, and I feel like her tastes align pretty closely with mine, and I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, that she did really enjoy that book. And all I know about it is that it's horror related to the KKK and racism, and I feel like it seems like it'd be a very impactful and important read, so I am definitely eager to get to that one. Okay, those are all of the books on my potentials list for May and Escape the Readathon. That is like a huge TBR compared to the amount of books I normally read. So I already know there's no way I'm gonna get to all of these, but I feel like there's so many good options in the list. I'm very excited of which ones I can pick between. It's also possible I might switch up my options for some of these prompts depending when we get the prompts, because like I said, I will be traveling. So during that time, if I get a prompt where I picked a physical book, I might have to switch and pick something on Kindle Unlimited, but we'll just see. I feel like this month is going to be such an adventure, and I'm so excited to get involved in the readathon. So please let me know down below what book you are most excited to read in May, and if you are participating in Escape the Readathon, please let me know what team you're on. All right, thank you so much everyone, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.